America's finest juice.
How long have you been living this musician touring life? Because I know the first album was a big breakthrough for you, but was it a long process to build up to this point?
Yeah, we've never actually really toured the way we're doing it now. This is basically our first band tour. It was always like in and out with flights. So I think that basically the past year was all about, it was about touring for us. And before that, it was mostly local shows in Israel. So this is a very, very new thing for us.
Of course. So we're talking because you're playing at the Joker in Brighton on Wednesday, which would be very cool. You haven't played since The Great Escape here. Can you tell me about your live show? What you channel when you're on stage? What are you thinking and feeling when you're on stage faced with a crowd?
The live show is basically, it's me and two musicians. One of them is Ron Jacobovich. He plays drums, but electronic drums. He has an electronic drum kit. And Ori Russo, my partner, who writes the music with me, and we are a trio on stage, and it sounds more or less like the show. Sorry, like the album, but there is a very, very lively kind of element to it because all of the layers of the music are basically played live. And yeah, getting on stage with those materials, with the songs that we've been working on in the studio, gives it another focus every time, and it feels very different. And you get a new kind of perspective on a song when you play it live in front of an audience, based on the response from the audience, and not just that, but also just the feeling of performing it. For me, to sing the songs again and rethinking the content of what I'm singing about, the lyrics and kind of the atmospheres that we've created in the songs. So it's a great opportunity to rethink the songs and feel them again from a different experience, a whole different experience than the studio.
So is it a kind of learning experience for you, seeing how different crowds react to different songs?
Definitely, and we are trying to, as much as we can, play songs live on stage before we release them, before we record them. So now touring, we have 2 new songs that are not in the album that we are kind of trying live, and it helps us a lot. It helps us learn a lot about the song and how it feels and how the crowd responds to it. So a lot of the times, in this album as well, in Off the Radar, we've been performing these songs before the album was released, and a lot of the times the songs were changed after playing them in front of a crowd, because it is really a learning process, and I feel like you can't really disconnect this day and age the recording from the live performance of a song. It needs to be very connected, and it needs to be something that would work in both formats, or you need to do, an adaptation from the recording to live, because it's a whole different platform, it's a whole different atmosphere.
I was just watching your video for Noisy, which you released not long ago, and it's filmed in a beautiful place. Why did you choose this video as one that you really wanted to make, and what are you trying to say with it?
Noisy, I think Noisy specifically is probably one of the most personal songs in the album. It talks about a very personal experience, about the experience of just conversing with yourself, of this dialogue or monologue that you have in your mind that always creates this noise. So this is the noise I'm talking about in Noisy, and I felt that I wanted to express it visually, in the visual world as something very physical. So we went to a place which is a museum, which is usually a very calm and silent place. And I went there with 4 girls who are amazing dancers, and we just basically went there and kind of wanted to create an atmosphere of trashing the place, of making this very silent place into a very massive place. It's another opportunity to feel a song again. Making a video for a song is another opportunity to feel the material again in a different way.
Were there any overriding themes in the album? Obviously, that's one idea that you wanted to explore. Were there any major things that kind of run through the album?
Yeah, I think that when we're looking at there's 16 tracks in the album, and when looking at it, from a perspective, I think that there are two main themes that are repeating. One of them is the experience of living in this world, that we live in today, in this age that we live in, that is, for me, combined into a very chaotic and strange political and social atmosphere. And also the age of internet and social media, and how the two things kind of combine and how they affect the individual and how they affect me personally. And on a more specific angle, I talk about how it is to live where I come from, which is Israel, and with an attempt to try to make it as global as possible, because what I experience in this very particular place is something that I believe is different to other people, but different people from different places can experience very similar things, even though the experiences are a bit different and vary from one place to the other.
Is it difficult being an independent musician in Israel? Is there a supportive scene?
There is a supportive scene. There is a very particular scene, music scene in Israel, especially the independent scene, which is, in the underground of the music world, but actually I kind of feel like the off and mainstream are blending together into this one mixture of things. And we just performed in this very big independent festival that has been around. It happens in the desert in Israel. It's been around for the past 11 years, and it's been constantly growing. So this is one example of how this scene is kind of gradually growing and becoming more and more strong. And we felt like when we got there, it felt like a very strong scene and also a very strong community, because it's a very small scene. It's a very small place. So a lot of the people that are your fellow musicians are people that you personally know, and the music that people make, and people support each other. So it's like, music coming from a very small place, but a very hectic and complex place, and it creates a very particular and very special thing, as I see it.
Okay, excellent. Well, I think the album's great, and I think you deserve
Thank you so much.
all the success that you are finding at the moment. What's next for you? I guess you're touring for a while, and then have you got another album sort of in the works?
Yeah, we have two legs for this tour. So this one that we are in the middle of is going to be for around 3 weeks, and then until the next one, we have a break that we're going to spend in Berlin at a studio, which we are hoping to kind of get a lot of stuff done. Musically, we're hoping to write a lot of new music, which we can later on process and make into a new album. But yeah, I think it's a process that we are trying to create while we're touring, and we're experimenting with that situation now as we go for the first time, how it feels and how it is to continuing to be creative and productive on the music side while you are touring and promoting an album. So that would be the near future. And after that, I think that we are going to have tours on and off, and during the breaks we will be writing new music, producing stuff, and hoping to get a new album out of it.
Brighton's finest. Juice.